Hey mathematics learners, welcome to Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. So on today's video tutorial, guys, we are still solving equations, right? And in this case, right, I'm going to be showing you guys how we can solve more complex equations, right, by using the K method, okay? The whole point of basically using the K method is so that you are able to simplify the equation that is given to you, right, so that you will be able to solve for x. Okay, because someone might think that, okay, I need to first basically write out these brackets twice, right, distribute them, distribute this 9, collect my like term. But do you see that you're gonna have now, if you basically use that method, you're now gonna have a polynomial equation, right, that has a degree of 4. Then what do you do then? Okay, do you see that you're gonna be stuck? Okay, so the K method will basically allow us to basically get to a point where we now have a quadratic equation, solve that quadratic equation for K, and further on then be able to solve this equation, right, for x. Okay, so please make sure that you're super focused for this video tutorial. It's going to be super informative and it will really simplify your lives, most especially when you're doing equations in your class tests and in your exams. Okay, so before we get started with today's video tutorial, guys, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Please make sure that you click on that notification bar so that you get notified every single time I upload a video tutorial, guys. And also, please don't forget to give these video tutorials a huge thumbs up, because it really helps the channel grow and it helps the channel to reach more learners that want to better their mathematics marks. I'm going to be taking you guys through your grade 11 year. I'm going to be teaching the whole curriculum for grade 11 on my channel this year. So please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Also, please make sure that you have clicked on that notification bar. Okay, next set of video tutorials that will be coming up on the channel deal with trigonometry, right? So if you know that you struggle with trigonometry, guys, please make sure that you watch all of these video tutorials. So without any further ado, guys, let's get started with today's video tutorial. So we are given the equation of x squared minus 2x all squared minus 9 x squared minus 9 times x squared minus 2x plus 8, okay, is equal to 0. So here, guys, if you've never been introduced to the K method, you would think that, okay, to solve this equation, I need to basically write out the brackets twice. And from there, I need to distribute my brackets or remove my brackets, right? But do you see that now you're going to be dealing with basically a polynomial equation that is of the 4th degree, okay? And that basically makes our life difficult, okay? Because then how are you going to now continue and solve that polynomial equation of the 4th degree for x? It's too complicated, right? And you haven't learned how to do that at this stage, okay? So what we basically do now, right, is we introduce the K method, okay, so that we get rid of the complication, okay? And with the K method, what you need to basically look for is that, is there anything that basically repeats from the brackets that are given to you, okay? So what do we notice from these brackets? You've got x squared, right, minus 2x, and in the other brackets, you've got x squared minus 2x. So do we see that we can actually say, right, to solve this, I can actually just say, how about I let that x squared minus 2x, right, be equal to k, all right? Or I can even write it as, how about I say, right, k is equal to x squared minus 2x. Okay, so then after you've basically said, let me make what's inside these brackets equal to k, you can just substitute that k into this equation. Okay, so where we see an x squared minus 2x, we're going to put a k, right? Because that is k, right? And that is k. Okay, so where we see that, we're going to put a k. For the first bracket, it is all squared. Do you see that? Okay, right? So that's the same as saying k brackets all squared, right? Minus 9, okay, open bracket k. Do you see that? Plus 8 is equal to 0. Okay, so that is the same as just writing it as k squared minus 9k plus 8 is equal to 0. So now, what are we noticing about this now, this new equation that we've basically created? Do you see that now this equation is actually now a quadratic equation that is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, which is equal to 0. Do you see that? Okay. The only difference now is that instead of having the variable x, we have the variable k, but it's still in that form. K squared minus 9k plus 8 is equal to 0. We are dealing with a quadratic equation. Okay, so here then, we can basically solve this quadratic equation for k. We can either use the quadratic formula, or you can just basically factorize by now opening two brackets and finding the factors of 8, that if I basically multiply them together, they're going to give me 8. If I subtract them or add them, they're going to give me 9. Then after doing that, we can basically apply the zero product principle to solve for k. So in this case, guys, we don't really, to basically solve for k, you can see that we don't actually have to basically use the quadratic equation, right? Because this equation is very easy to factorize. Why am I saying it's easy to factorize, right? We can see that if you had to look for the factors of 8, what are the factors of 8, right? Numbers that can go into 8 without leaving a remainder. The factors of 8 is 1, it's 2, it's 4, and 8. Okay, and from these factors, right, we can already see that there is a combination that we can use, right, that can, if you multiply these, the combo, you'll get to 8. And if you either subtract or add these combo, it can get us to -9. So in this case, we can factorize this quadratic equation, right, in this form. Okay, we can just open two brackets, right, and that is equal to 0. Okay, and that is k, and that is k, right? We see that here we've got you have to look at the last sign. Okay, if the last sign is a positive, right, that basically tells you that in these two brackets, okay, the signs need to be the same. They either need to be a plus or a plus, or the signs need to be a negative and a negative, right? So in this case, what's going to help us determine whether it should be a plus and a plus or a negative and a negative, okay, is the middle value. So in this case, because our middle value is a negative, that means that our signs are going to be a negative and a negative. If our middle value was a positive, right, and we also had a positive in our positive sign for our last term, then the middle values would be a positive and a positive, okay? Because why? A negative times a negative will give us a positive, right? And a negative minus a negative will get us to a -9, okay? So now we need to now look at the combo that is given to us, right? Or the factors. From the factors of 8, what is the combo that's going to get us to 8 if you multiply these two values together, right? And what is the combo that's going to get us to -9 if you subtract them, okay? So we see that that combo is 1 and 8, okay? So then k minus 1 and k minus 8 is basically what we have here, right? So in this case, do you see that we didn't really need to use the quadratic formula because it can be basically factorized easily, okay? We didn't have a coefficient that is greater than 1, right? Also, we saw that when you look at the factors of 8, they could basically get us to -9. So that is how you can basically determine whether you can use the quadratic equation or not. Okay, I hope I didn't lose anyone there. So now we're going to apply the zero product principle and solve for this k. Okay, so therefore k minus 1 is equal to 0, or k minus 8 is equal to 0. Okay, solve for k. K is equal to 1, or k is equal to 8. Okay, so we've basically solved for k, right? However, we're not done. Remember, we wanted to solve for x, right? Us just basically using the k method is a way to basically help us get rid of the complication that is going on with this equation. So now we've basically gotten rid of the complication. So we can further on now substitute these values back into the equation where we said let k equal to x squared minus 2x and actually determine what is x, right? So then we're going to have two substitutions for k. The first one is that we said that k is equal to 1, right? So when k is equal to 1, okay, we're going to take that equation, we're going to substitute where we see k, we're going to substitute 1. So it's going to be 1 is equal to x squared minus 2x, okay? So what do we see here? We already see that, okay, now we've got a quadratic equation, okay, that is not in its standard form, okay? So now we basically need to put this quadratic equation into its standard form, and then from there we can further on now factorize and solve for x. Okay, so what do we need to do here? We need to put it in the standard form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0 because it is not in that form. Okay, so then what do we need to do? We can just move the 1 to the right hand side, so therefore we're going to have 0 is equal to x squared minus 2x, right? So if you want to remove this positive 1 from the left hand side, we're going to subtract 1, okay? And then if you subtract 1 on the left hand side, you need to minus 1 on the right hand side. Or it's the same as just saying if your term jumps the equal sign, it changes, the sign of that term changes, okay? So here, what do we see? Now we can basically solve for x, okay? What are we noticing here? To solve for x, are we going to use the quadratic formula or are we going to use our normal factorizing techniques? Here, guys, you will notice that, okay, we will have to use the quadratic formula. Why am I saying that? Okay, when you basically look at 1, what are the factors of 1? The factors of 1 is just 1. Okay, yes, 1 and 1 can, negative 1 and 1 can get me to 2, but let me show you what actually happens now. Okay, it's equal to 0. Okay, so it's going to be x and x, right? So we've got a negative sign here. So that means that the signs that are inside these brackets need to be the opposite. So 1 needs to be a positive and 1 needs to be a negative. Because remember, a positive times a negative will give us a negative, right? What are the factors of 1? It's just 1 and 1, right? There's no other factors. So do we see that this combo will never get us to negative 2? Do you see that issue? So that is when now we use the quadratic formula because it helps us deal with instances like this, right? Because yes, the coefficient for x squared is 1. However, the factors of 1 won't help us get to negative 2 because of this issue that is happening here. So that is why now, okay, we can use what now? The quadratic formula to actually help us basically solve this equation for x. Okay, so that is why it's very important that you guys learn how to use the quadratic formula because it comes in handy, most especially in these types of scenarios. Okay, so x is equal to minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so what is our b, what is our a, what is our c? Okay, our a is 1, our b is negative 2, our c is negative 1. Okay, we're going to substitute these values into our equation. So it's minus, what is our b? Do you see why we need to put that bracket there? Minus 2 plus or minus the square root of, what is our b? Minus 2 all squared minus 4. What is our a? 1. What is our c? Minus 1 all over 2. What is our a? It's 1. Okay, so you can basically simplify that, right? And you'll find that if you actually put that into your calculator, right, you'll get that your x is equal to, okay, let me just do it practically with you guys. Negative times a negative is a positive 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 2 all squared is a positive 4, right? Minus negative and a negative. Negative and a negative is a positive, right? And then 1 times 1 is 1. So we just have a 4 there. All over. 2 times 1 is just 2, right? So that is the same as saying 2 plus or minus. The square root of 4 plus 4 is 8, okay? All over 2 Okay, and then what is the square root of 8? Okay, so therefore your x is equal to 2 plus or minus the square root of 8 is 2 square root 2 all over 2. Okay, therefore that can be simplified as x is equal to 2 plus 2 square root 2 all over 2, or x is equal to 2 minus 2 square root 2 all over 2, right? What are we noticing here? This is the same as just saying 2 divided by 2 plus 2 divided by 2 plus 2 square root 2 divided by 2. Do you see that? Right? It's the same as also writing it like that. Guys, I'm just doing this, right, so that you guys start to enjoy maths. It's very fun. Okay, x is equal to, this is the same as saying 2 divided by 2 minus 2 square root 2 divided by 2, right? So 2 divided by 2 is 1 plus, right? 2 square root 2 divided by 2. Do you see those 2's cancel? And you'll just be left with square root 2. Nice. Okay, or x is equal to 2 divided by 2 is 1 minus 2 square root 2 divided by 2. These two cancel. So it's 1, right? Or we can 1 square root 2, or we can even just write it as square root 2. Hi, Shem. Math is nice, guys. Okay? Math is very nice. I enjoy mathematics so much. Okay, so that is basically our final answers for x. X is equal to 1 plus square root 2, or x is equal to 1 minus square root 2. However, we're not done, guys, right? This is just us when we substitute that first k value of k is equal to 1. We still need to determine what is x when k is equal to 8. Okay, so that is what we're going to do now. Guys, please also, when you basically in your exam, just punch these values into your calculator so that you don't make mistakes. Okay, but I'm just doing this just for the purpose of you understanding how your calculator gets to a final answer of 1 plus square root 2 and 1 minus square root 2, so that you also understand the mathematics that happens for you to get this as your final answer. Okay, but then from here you can just also, just from here, right here, you can just literally put this into your calculator and get what the answer is, right? But then when you're doing it at home and you're just doing it for homework, just get into the habit of just punching, of just doing these calculations mentally without actually just using your calculator. But from here, you can just punch this into your calculator and it will literally give you the answer of x is equal to 1 plus square root 2, or x is equal to 1 minus square root 2. Okay, so that is our final answer. Okay, however, we are not done. We're still going to substitute our, when your k is equal to 8. Okay, so when your k is equal to 8, we need to determine what is x. Okay, we need to determine what is x. Okay, so what we're going to do now, remember we said that we need to let, okay, remember we said that here, let k equal to x squared minus 2x. Let's write that down. Remember we said k is equal to x squared minus 2x, right? Here we're saying that, okay, k, when k is 8, what is x? So where we see k, we're going to substitute 8 is equal to x squared minus 2x, right? Then here we already know that, okay, we're dealing with a quadratic equation. However, it's not in the standard form of ax squared plus bx plus c, which is equal to 0. Okay, so let's basically ensure that this equation is in that form. So I'm going to move my 8 to the right hand side. So 0 is equal to x squared minus 2x, right, minus 8. At this point, guys, you should be comfortable. Even if you decided to move your x squared to the other side and your negative 2x to the other side, your answer is still going to be the same. Okay, I just prefer working with the coefficient of x squared that is a positive. Okay, so it's just up to you, but you'll still get the same answer. Okay, so now we see that our equation is in this form, right? Here, what is our a? We can see that our a is equal to 1. What is our b? Our b is equal to negative 2. What is our c? Our c for constant is equal to negative 8. Okay, so now we can substitute this into our quadratic formula, right? So x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, we're going to substitute these values. X is equal to, what is minus b? So it's minus, what is b? Minus 2. Be careful. Plus or minus, what is b? Minus 2 all squared. Minus 4, what is a? 1. What is c? Minus 8. Okay, all over 2. What is a? 1. Okay, so from here, guys, you can literally punch this into your calculator to determine what x is. Please don't spend so much time in your exam just doing these mental calculations, right? I'm just doing them just so that you guys understand how your calculator got to the answer. You can also do this, right? Even when you're at home, you're doing your homework. Okay, it's very important that you guys understand how the answer is basically obtained from your calculator. Most especially if you want to be a mathematician, if you want to be a maths teacher, if you want to be an engineer, right? You need to basically get into the hang of doing such things. Okay. Anyway, so let's continue, right? Let's simplify. Therefore, x is going to be equal to, it's going to be positive 2, right? Because a negative and a negative gives us a positive, plus or minus, right? Then we've got a negative 2 all squared. Negative 2 all squared is a 4, right? Then it's a negative and a negative. If you're multiplying a negative and a negative, I will get a positive, okay? 4 times 8 is going to be equal to 32. Okay, that's 32 all over 2, because 2 times 1 is 2. Simplify further. 4 plus 32 is equal to 36. So it's 2 plus the square root of 36 all over 2, right? 36 is a perfect square, right? So it's going to be 2 plus or minus. It's 6. The square root of 36 is 6 all over 2, right? Therefore, right here we see that, okay, x is equal to, that's the same as just saying 2 plus 6 all over 2, okay? Or we can just say x is equal to 2 minus 6 all over 2, okay? You can simplify the numerator. 2 plus 6 is 8 over 2, right? So therefore, x is equal to 4, or, right, x is equal to 2 minus 6 is minus 4 divided by 2, and minus 4 divided by 2 is minus 2. Okay, so that is basically the final answer. Okay, so do we see that we actually obtained 4 values for x, right? We got that x is equal to 4, x is equal to minus 2, and we also got that x is equal to 1 plus square root of 2, and x is equal to 1 minus the square root of 2. Okay, and this actually makes sense because remember, when I started off the video tutorial, I did mention that if you try to basically solve this equation by not using the K method, right, you would actually have a fourth degree polynomial, right? And the degree of the polynomial basically tells you how many solutions for x you're going to have, right? So the degree was 4, meaning that we need to have 4 roots as the solutions for this equation. So this is a great question. You need to ensure that you also have a look at questions like this, where you need to then use the K method to help you solve for x. Okay, all right. So we are done with today's video tutorial, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Just the take for this video tutorial is just noticing that, okay, there's a value that is common that is inside these brackets. Okay, so in that case, right, we can basically substitute the common, or basically replace the common value with a k. And once we basically replace it with a k, we'll see that, oh, now that becomes a basic quadratic equation, right? And then from there we can solve for k. Then after you've solved for k, you can further on basically solve for x, okay, by obviously using your normal factorization techniques, or by using the quadratic formula. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video tutorial, guys. I hope that it was super informative, right? In the next video tutorial, guys, I'm going to be slowly introducing you to the concepts of roots, right? Just so that when we start talking about the nature of roots, you guys really understand what I'm talking about. We're going to be looking at this equation, right? And this equation says express the roots of the equation 2x squared minus px plus 1 which is equal to 0 in terms of p, and hence show that the roots are irrational if p is equal to 4. You also guys, you need to start also looking at these type of questions, because they like asking these type of questions in your algebra. Okay, so please do this for homework, right? In the next video tutorial, we're going to be tackling this question together, right? Please make sure that you have your notification bells turned on. That is it, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next upload, Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. Bye, guys.